Pseudo-columns. In all the Oracle documentation, you will find pseudo-columns referred to as pseudo-column without the hyphen. What is a pseudo-column? The word pseudo means fake or pretend. In terms of Oracle, it's really a column which is not actually a column. Effectively, what it has underneath it is really a function or an internal function which converts one thing to another. Pseudo-columns obviously do not contain constant values. It's not like sysdate, which contains the system date. The date is not actually a constant value because it changes, but as far as Oracle is concerned, when you hit the database and query it and ask for the sysdate, at that point in time, it's a constant value. The pseudo-column values is calculated when you ask for it. It's not stored in the database as any specific value. In other words, they're generated on request. What are the types of pseudo-columns in the Oracle database? There are a number of types. The first one I want to look at is sequences. Within a sequence, you can access the current value or the next value by two pseudo-columns, one called current val, one called next val. One very important thing to note about current val and next val. When using current val in a session to access the value of a sequence, you must have already executed next val. If you execute current val without next val first, you will get an error. Let's demonstrate that. First of all, let's go and look at our sequences. We're going to look at a view called user sequences. So we're looking at all the sequences in the constant user. I've used sequences for all the IDs, for instance, the act ID, the category ID, etc. Let's try and select act sequence dot current val, and it comes from Dual. Since it's not coming from anywhere, current val is not a table or an object. Act sequence is, but act sequence dot current val is not. Select current val, it says, is not yet defined for this session. So the only way I can do it is to select act sequence dot next val from Dual. This will give me the next value for the sequence, and it will increment the sequence as well. And now what I can do is I can actually go and select the current value. That's what those two pseudo-columns do. The row ID. A row ID is a logical pointer to a row in a table. What you can do, as we've seen on numerous occasions in this course so far, is you can select the row ID from a table. In this case, I selected the row ID and the name from the category table. The row ID is actually the fastest way to access an individual row in the database. The problem is you have to know what that row ID is first. The row ID is actually a logical structure made up of various pointers to various Oracle database structures. They are namely the identifier for a table space, a block within a data file, a row within that block, and a data file number within a table space. A table space can have multiple data files. What Oracle does is, for instance, when you have a table and an index, this would be the structure of an index on the name column on the category table. The index would contain the name value and a row ID, which is a pointer to the table. The table contains the row ID plus all the other columns in the category table, namely the category ID, the parent ID, and the name of the category. So the index would be searched based on the name. It's much smaller than the table. Theoretically, it's faster. It has fewer columns. Then the row ID would be used to access directly from the index directly to the exact physical pseudo-logical point of where the row is in the table.